Good morning. Welcome. This is day 3 of the sessions this week. We start at Monday with resume renovation, all the secrets to really help your resume jump out of that stack of resumes that turns into resume blindness, like snow blindness. Can't tell anybody apart. The right resume, they're droning out. Wow. Get this person in here, get them on the phone. I have to speak with them. That's the right resume. That's Monday's lecture. Be sure to go back and watch that one. Yesterday, we talked about how to take that single sheet telling of your greatest highlights and now transform that into a 3-dimensional sales brochure for your LinkedIn profile. Be sure to watch that. Also, all the secrets to going after the job without going through HR, all in yesterday's lecture. That's building your career brand with LinkedIn. Make sure to watch that. And today we're going to talk about interview intervention, all the reasons why you'll win your next interview if you implement all of these techniques. And tomorrow we're going to close out this very special end of the year session week with all about how to build a social media marketing plan that you can manage in just 2 minutes a day. This is how you stay on the top of all the players in your industry, on the top of their minds, top of the short list for every open interview, no matter whether it's internal or external. So be sure to tune in to that tomorrow. So we're not going to get hired by sitting there. We need to take some action. We need to do something different and get different results. Let me get a little bit of a sip here today. So welcome. This is about taking back control, as in every session is. This one will be about taking back control during the interview process. Now, when I say having control, I don't want you to be the bull in the china shop trying to run everything. You have to think for yourself here. But I do want you to be in control as a puppet master while you let them feel in control. And that's a very, very different outcome. And that's part of taking control of the discussion. Check out all the lectures this week. They can all be watched on replay. So please do like, comment, share them with your friends, all that kind of stuff. It really does help keep this content flowing. And thank you so much. Oh, that screen doesn't belong there. We're going to get that right out of there. Interview intervention. Gosh, you know, that name is quite interesting. Intervention. Most of us need an intervention before our next interview, before we do it to ourselves again. I'm going to teach you all about video interviewing too today, because that's become a crucial component in the weeding out process of really just who brings it to the table and who does not. Your interview process, as you see on screen, is really all about how you influence people, and you use the nuance of personal communications, your personal emotional intelligence quotient, those soft skills, to push your personal branding so that they choose you as a product over any of your competitors. And it's really not that hard to do, but you do have to focus in on your brand. So go back to Monday's lecture about resume renovation to really understand a deep dive into your background, to really come up with a different conclusion about your brand than you currently have, because you're stuck in a little bit box yourself. And that box needs to widen quite a bit. Make sure to carry all these things across all of your materials. That gets you ready for the interview. Now, in terms of success during the interview, it's directly related to how much energy and everything else we put into it. If we don't put it in, it's not going to work. Your interviews are a sales meeting. It's worse than that. It's also a speed dating session, because it's both a sales meeting and a dating process at the same time. But if it's a sales meeting, we can make our case. We can be persuasive. We can not just answer their questions. In fact, I'm not really even there to answer their questions. I'm going to use the device of the Q&A, but I'm going to use that device to position and sell what I intend to sell, just as if I'm going into a competitor company to sell something to them, and I have to really push hard to sell it, because it's my job to teach them how to select me. They don't know how to select me. It's my job to teach them how to select me, so they check off all those checkbox lists and they aren't left with any objections unanswered. Now, I talked a lot about this in both lectures so far this week. Huge mistake we make across our materials, and then also in our verbal interviewing, is trying to just be cookie cutter perfect. I'll be so cookie cutter perfect, I can just slide right in there. And that's terrific. If you haven't seen the other 2 lectures, you haven't seen this, and it's like, I'll take number 3, I'll take number 3. Number 3, I'm going to pay you less. I'm going to pay you less. You don't want less? Okay, I'll take number 2, take number 5. Doesn't matter to me. They're all interchangeable, cookie cutter perfect. You see that problem there. So you have to be not only the cookie cutter perfect piece, but you also have to be somehow different, exceptional, special, stepping out of line in the process using your personal branding. Now, if you haven't seen me before, John Crant, author, career coach, and speaker, resume and LinkedIn guru as well. So if your sales materials about yourself are not working, are not delivering you the right interviews, are not opening those right doors, if they're not starting the conversation about you in a very, very different place, they're not really doing their job. Work with someone that can truly help you. Most of us are too emotionally close to our own background to really position and sell it in a different way that is still absolutely letter true. And that's what I do for my clients, is really have that perspective and produce some pretty amazing stuff that works in a very, very good way. Welcome. Always good to have people back returning for another time. So check out my website, SelfRecruiter.com. There's a book that'll help you as well. Check that out either on Amazon or my SelfRecruiter website. And of course, this LinkedIn lecture, there's several versions of it out there. The important thing is to watch that LinkedIn lecture as a start and stop tutorial while you improve your LinkedIn profile itself as a selling brochure. Over on LinkedIn, of course, a number of articles on my LinkedIn that will help you in whatever the challenges you might be facing. So let's get down to how SelfRecruiter attracts and gets prepared for an interview. So as I sit and think about it, becoming a self-recruiter is about taking control, looking at things a different way. It's a competition, keeping one eye on the toughest competitor I can imagine. But now it's the interview process. Now it's deal time, essentially, to make or break all my claims. And I have to be prepared. I have to be ready. And I have to be ready not to simply go after the job. I'll just send my stuff in now. I'll just get the interview if it only works so easily that way. Watch yesterday's lecture to understand how to book your own interviews, bypassing HR. It's very, very, very effective in getting out of this cycle that doesn't work for us, that leaves us in a pretty unhappy place. So there is another method, which is unusual, unconventional, and unexpected. Let's take a look at that. Now, in interviewing, we simply have to change the equation of diminishing returns to change the rules. The rules themselves answer the questions you're asked. No, maybe. I don't want to be seen as evasive. So absolutely, I need to sometimes answer the questions I'm asked if it's valuable to me, if it's valuable for them to hear the answer. And many times I might need to rephrase the answer if they didn't quite get that question, or rephrase the question. If they didn't quite get it over in the right area, I might have to say, well, I think what you're asking me is this, and then give that answer. That's what a good politician does. I'm not sure there's any good politicians, but one that performs their task well, that's what they do, is they answer the questions they intended to answer, not the questions they were asked. Great example of that. That's very effective. I'm sure you can pull it off of YouTube, because that's where I saw it a few years back. Tim Cook, who runs Apple. It was a springtime. He was giving a talk to a college class. Nope, it was not a commencement speech, just a talk to a college class. He's inside the classroom, and one of the students actually raises their hand and goes, "When is it appropriate to not listen to our professors?" Professor right next to me. Oh, thank you for that wonderful question. And now I'm trapped. Tim is a very smart guy. And so he said, "Well, I think you're asking me is, when is it okay not to follow the rules?" I think you should rarely follow the rules, or you're not going to really get to what you're dreaming about. I think you should be writing the rules. That's what you should be doing. Great lesson in, you don't just do it because that's the way people say we should do it. Now, who's our competitor? I hate to set this benchmark, but the bulk of the workforce is mediocre, of only moderate quality. I don't have to read all these things, even though I love to read this one. This portends awful things for our country's future. But if you understand that this is the bulk of the workforce really just showing up for the paycheck, what do you have to be in the good group? Just a little bit better than mediocre. What do you have to be the top 1, 2, 3% always? Just put a little bit of heart and soul into whatever it is you do. Whatever your function is, doesn't matter. Put a little bit of heart and soul into it as if you own the business. And by the way, that's always been my secret, personally, across my career. I work for myself now, but I've worked for many people in the past. And every single time I've worked for somebody else, I simply act like I own the business. And in an in-person lecture, people like blurt out laughing, everything else. I get it. They see this version of John and they imagine a bull in a china shop. That's not really what I mean. Is whatever function I've had, I don't follow the 8.5 by 11 sheet of job description. That's a cursory starter idea of what to do for this. You hired me for my brain to take the reins, and I have the confidence to do it without alienating everybody around me, which is really, really important. And I don't ask permission, I ask forgiveness. So I simply do what needs doing. Always be the top 1, 2, 3%. And you find yourself getting promoted quite frequently going, oh my gosh, is there anything else this person can't do? Not simply, oh, well, that's not in my job description. I'm like, well, you're going to have a wonderful career and lots of advancement for you. Now, in terms of interviewing, it can happen several ways. In person, over the phone, video interviewing today, quite pervasive. Our job here is to be persuasive. We're not there to answer questions, even though we kind of are. We're there to use that to position it and sell ourselves as the very best one. Not, I hope they think I'm the very best one. My job is to persuade them I'm the very best one, so they choose me. This means we have to know ourselves before the interview. We're going to have to drink just enough of that Kool-Aid, our own Kool-Aid, so that we believe in ourselves more than the next 5 or 6 competitors that want that job. Now, the secret you may not like to getting hired, it's about these 2 things. What do you not see? The qualifications. Now, don't misunderstand this. I would never interview or consider anybody I didn't deem capable or qualified. That is not a determining hiring factor. That's a determining piece for even getting the conversation, the belief that you're qualified. The rest comes down to number 1, chemistry above all other things. Do I get you? Can you work with my team? Can I manage you? If I get stuck in the airport with you in a 4-hour layover with you, am I going to want to explode my head because I have to deal with you? I've had hiring managers ask me that airport test question. How's this person going to do on the airport test? Oh, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Confidence in you. Number 2, above all other things. If I roll the dice on you, I'm going to get something else. So your job is to build this chemistry and build this connection, which is a lot closer to that kind of connection. But it all comes from our story. It comes from our personal soft skills of engagement, and we have to think about it. When we think about story, we sometimes think about something that's not true. That's certainly not what I mean. I can tell you something that's letter true in a very, very dull way. Or I could tell you in the most interesting, you know what happened to me? I was walking down this dark street and I just stepped under the light and suddenly out from the bushes, boom, you're right there in the moment. That is storytelling. So it's going to require a paradigm shift in the way you approach your answers. Everything about your background, which we really covered Monday in the deep dive interview, gets filtered back through this singular question we've been talking about all week. What rises to the level to be the best business decision if they choose to hire you today? Those are the things we need to talk about. Those are the things that will help you stand out and say, I'm not only qualified, but I'm different, exceptional, special. And that means maybe I deserve a little bit more responsibility, a little bit different title, and maybe even a higher compensation package. All coming down to all these things you see on screen, which are part of our soft skills, the emotional intelligence quotient, the way we engage individuals, the way we essentially charm and disarm them as we influence their opinion. So before the interview, let's say your interview is next Tuesday. It's Wednesday right now. Your interview is next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Fantastic. You have a few days to prepare. Open and ask to connect on LinkedIn with every single person you're scheduled to meet with. If you don't know who you're scheduled to meet with or aren't really sure, or I think this is it, email them again, even if you just did, and say, hey, I'm so excited for my discussion with you on Monday at 10 a.m. In addition to yourself, who else am I likely, there's the word, likely to meet with so I can fully prepare for the meeting? If you forget that small word likely, they're probably going to go, I'm not really sure. And then you didn't get anywhere. And if you include likely, they're going to go, I'm not really sure, but probably Jack and Jim and maybe a couple of your peers. Okay, I've got 2 more names, Jack and Jim. I can look up on LinkedIn and figure out who my peers are. Oh, there's 6 peers, and I'm going to meet with 2 of them. I'm going to have to plan on how to build chemistry with all 6 because I don't know which 2 I'm going to meet with. I'm going to open every one of these, ask them to connect. Hopefully we get if I know I'm speaking with them, looking forward to discussion next Tuesday at 10 a.m. If I'm not sure I'm speaking with them, I'm coming in for discussions next Tuesday at 10 a.m. I hope I get an opportunity to speak with you. Gives them an opportunity to look at you, read about your background, and begin to be sold about you if you've built out the right LinkedIn profile as a full three-dimensional sales brochure. All this communicates what you say is, you're about to meet me, or you're likely about to meet me. I'm professionally appropriate, little stroke to the ego. And don't take it personal if they don't connect before the interview. Many won't connect till after the interview. What we're doing is getting them to look at us. That's the payoff, not the connection. Yes, I'd like the connection. So gentle reminder, soft skills, lures them over to your sales brochure. That's the LinkedIn profile. Nudge, nudge, nudge. And you prepare your audience for your presentation before you walk in next Tuesday, beginning to think about you. Even the morning of next Tuesday, because how many emails do you get? It's like so far back in the email box. I'm like, I want to be right at the top of their email box with my resume, with my cover letter, with any final little words I might like to whisper into their ears as a demonstration of my follow-up skills, the way if I work on a project, how I handle things. So Tuesday morning, bright and early in the morning, I'm going to send them off each individually a little email saying, Jack, Jim, Jill, looking forward to meeting you at 10 a.m. I wanted to make sure this was at the top of your inbox just for convenience, resume and cover letter attached. And of course, looking forward to a great discussion. Another deep opportunity, maybe while they're having the early morning coffee, to read about your background, read your cover letter again, think about your follow-up. Small changes change perception, be persuasive. All of these things come together to work. Now, we still have to build a real interview plan because you just can't walk in there and wing it. This is the same thing as if you had a product or service to sell to other companies and you had to walk in and sell it to them. You'd put a plan together or you wouldn't make many sales. So what's our agenda? We have to do the needs analysis. We're going to break down every one of these. Don't you worry. We have to select and customize the work-life stories. If there's no buy sign, we have to overcome that. And we have to close them on us being the very best selection so we get that job. Well, let's break all this down and teach you how to build a real plan here. So as far as the agenda, who am I meeting? With every one of them, I've got a plan ahead about how I might build chemistry. What's their background? Did we ever work at the same companies? Did we ever hold the same job titles? Can we commiserate about that part of the background? That might be beneficial in building chemistry, stroking their ego just a little bit. Now, for each person, which career stories are the right ones that each one needs to hear, because they may need to hear different stories. What else do they need to hear? What are they thinking about you, or what else could you do to change the way they're thinking about you? Needs analysis. Now, this is a scary sales term. Really just means don't answer questions until you do a proper needs analysis, confirming what you believe to be the need is. Now, you may be led astray by something called a job posting, which I call the list of the irrelevance. That's a new word with a T and an S, because almost everything on there is irrelevant, somehow tangentially connected to the job. Yes, I get that. Maybe the title's right or not. But that's not a picture of the day-to-day of this job. So I have to confirm that I have the right target before I sell to that target. That's just the generic posting. So I have to go, I can't let them think I didn't do my homework. So gosh, Jack, Jim, Jill, I'd love to tell you all about myself, because maybe they asked me a question first. Before I answer, I'd like to make sure my answers are, of course, as focused and valuable to you as possible. I've done my homework. I've looked at the role. I've even looked at some competitor roles, but I'd love to hear from your perspective or your opinion. Yes, stroke their ego. What do I need to get control of as I step into this role? I'm projecting myself right into the role. And they can imagine, as I step into this role, what do I need to get control of in the first 30 to 60 days? Stay away from 90 days that trigger something completely different. 30 to 60 days, what they'll tell you is what's on fire, what's about to derail, what just derailed. I guarantee you all that negative stuff is not listed in the posting itself. And yet if you understand it and you've handled something like that in the past, can go, it's an interesting challenge. But back when I was with XYZ, I handled a very similar situation. This is what happened and how we overcame it. So you get the checkbox of he can handle this conflict, this challenge, whatever it might be. You need to think about this interview plan and develop it. Every time you interview, it's a chance to get better and better at presenting and selling yourself. So what's the kind of glue that holds it all together? It's your work-life stories. You may, in the past, probably have wanted to tell the same 8 or 10 work-life stories in every single interview. And I get that. gets easy, a little rut, really. Long, deep track, back and forth, back and forth. Eventually it becomes not very effective. What you need to do is think about how you take and cherry pick maybe 15 to 25 different career stories, and you only talk maybe about 5 of them, but you have to, in the moment, think about what each person needs to hear, what story is right to solve their issues, not what you like to tell them. So you have to be really careful with which stories you tell, and don't introduce stories that don't solve a specific objection, because it just dilutes the conclusion. So their job is to object to you. They're going to object to you. That can't throw you. In fact, when someone objects to me, John, you've never worked in this industry. I'm like, why? Because they challenged me? Yes, because they challenged me. You know why they challenged me? Because they're interested to hear how I'll put my thoughts together. This is a demonstration. This is the interview. Objections are part of it. And persuading and getting them to see it a different way is part of how you will work when you're on their team and pushing their agenda. So any of these things, I think you can write your own list of what you have or have not done that they could accuse you of, that you're afraid of. Oh, what if they ask me this? I get it. So write out that list and use an agree but disagree technique to overcome it. If I'm commercial in all my background, but now I'm of an age that I'm going, oh, I'm done with commercial, a lot of rat race. Maybe I can go to a nonprofit where it's a little bit slower pace, a little bit better quality of life, much better salaries than people pretend or think that are over there. Sometimes some incredible benefits that people are completely unaware of, that make those jobs even more attractive, even though the salary is just a tiny bit lower. And but they want someone from nonprofit. I've got commercial. They go, John, you've never worked in nonprofit. You know, I haven't. There's my agree. I can't pretend I've worked in nonprofit. I haven't. So I have to confront it like it's a gift from up above. And then I disagree by going, but I'm sure you'll meet a lot of those candidates. Your competitors are always candidates with a little bit hard hit on the D. Something in my mouth. You're always an individual. Really, really important semantics that you have to get control of. But I'm sure you'll meet a lot of candidates that have that background. You know, even from your competitors, everything else. Will they bring the solutions? Will they bring the baggage and problems? I'm not really sure. But what I bring to the table, did you hear how I threw the competitor under the bus right there? Are they bringing solutions or are they bringing the baggage? What I bring is this, and I differentiate myself. What I bring is this. And my focus, my energy, and my alignment with your mission, and all my business acumen, which I know you don't really have a deep well of on your staff, all of that will be put toward this. And that's why I'll be the most effective person in this role. Wow. John says he'll be the most effective person in this role. Well, I'm not hiring you for any kind of high-powered position if you can't tell me you're going to be the best one. So we have to put the ego, modesty, everything else aside, and we have to have confidence and ease that's not overwhelming. Now, there's a fine line here, because what they would like is they'd like us dangerously close to the ego and arrogance line. If you cross it, they will not hire you. I can't stomach you. I'm not hiring you. But they want us dangerously close to that line because they imagine I'm going to get something very different out of this person. I don't even know what I'm going to get yet, but I know I'll get a different product than just these ordinary people. That's how you create success. That's how you create desire for yourself. That's how you create a different opportunity than in the past. Now, in your interview process, you don't think I'm leaving the interview, whether it's a phone call, Zoom, in person, whatever it is. You don't think I'm leaving that interview if I didn't win, did you? You know what winning is, the buy sign? I'd like to bring you back next week to talk to Jack, Jim, Jill. Indication for the next interview. And it doesn't just say what it is. They said they'd like to bring John back. I won. If you win, stop selling. But if you didn't win, or there's one other win, which is, gosh, I'd love to get your references and move toward offer stage. I like the way we're going. Fantastic. But if you didn't win, it might sound like this. Oh my gosh, John, you have an amazing background. You would be truly an interesting choice for this role. Pause. So far, so good. I like what I'm hearing. And then they go, but we really just started. We have a few more people to see. Of course, the holidays are coming up. It'll probably be mid to late January before we really have an idea. We'll certainly get back to you. You need to get back to me After speaking with me, I didn't convince you. Now that's my take. Not everybody can really use that style. You have to stay within what you can sell. But would I kid and cajole them that they have to see more people after speaking with me? Absolutely. I go, oh, I totally understand. I guess I'm a little surprised you may need to see other people. Gosh, I can actually start on Monday and very confident in what I can deliver. But sometimes we have to get out there and kick those tires to know which one is the right one. So I hope you have a wonderful, great holiday season. If anything changes, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to, onboard anytime. Boom. There's me closing. There's me pitching myself. There's me seeing what I get. I'd like to get the close. I'd like to get the agreement right in the discussion, but I'm not likely going to get that most times. I have to leave them with thoughts that could help them. So if there's no buy sign, if I get that, that we'll be back to you, even though we love you, then I have to ask some questions to help them visualize the whole process almost as a two-dimensional race and see the finish line. And that's the decision hiring process, by the way. And then somehow see me along this line. And what they're going to do is they're going to think of what's wrong with you. Oh, I know that's scary. John, you want me to ask them a question so they think of what's wrong with me? Yes. Yes, I would. I'd like you to ask them that question only when you don't get the win, because then you have very little to lose. You didn't win. You didn't win. Now, you didn't lose yet, but you're less and less likely to win if you don't win. So, there's other people whispering in those ears. So, yes, ask them closing questions. I can tell them what their problem is with you. And then you can overcome that objection right now before it hardens into the reason they don't hire you. As they wrap up and ask any other questions, anything else, Jack, let me ask you, what have you not heard? Or what have we not discussed? A little positive, negative on the energy, because you don't know how people's brains are wired. That would help you in your decision process for this role. They imagine the two-dimensional timeline, they imagine the finish line, they imagine where we are, they think of the problems, and then they either disclose or don't disclose a question or concern they have about us. Now, this is pretty good. Is it enough for John? Well, John's style is a little more aggressive than this, a little more confident than this. This is very effective, by the way. But I like a little bit more. I might go, Jack, what have we not discussed? Or what maybe have you not heard? Just mix it up there. Order doesn't really matter. You can do this off the cuff. That will help you in your selection of me. Got to change that word, as the very best individual for this role. I'm not going to say position. It's a role. Position is just something we hold. I'm just standing in a position. A role is something that I run with, that I do, that delivers value. So yeah, a few of these words have to change here and there, but you get the idea. If they're trying to now think of you up on that silver platter as the very, very best, they're definitely going to think about if there's something missing, and they might go, well, Jonathan, by the way, I think you do have an amazing background and would be really interesting for this. I'm a little concerned you're probably weak in area A. Is area A important? Oh my gosh, area A was very important. Did I talk about area A in my interview? Oh, I avoided it. Why? Because I've only ever done 2 projects in area A, and I was afraid they'd ask me something I couldn't answer. So the important area I knew would be important to the decision process, I avoided speaking about, and I realized the trap I've built myself into. Now they think I'm too weak, which I really am in that area. So how do we handle this? We're going to overcome it. I don't know if this is coming up in screen, so I'll just tell you how to do it as you think about all the steps here. So if I'm weak in area A, you might go, well, John, you think you're a little weak in area A. Agree but disagree technique. Oh, that's very interesting. I can see how you might think that. That's as close as I'm getting to agree to it. Listen to my verbiage here. But actually, I've worked on projects such as this and projects such as that. What should we discuss? Pause. Those are the only 2 projects that I've worked on. Absolutely letter true what I said. Projects such as this and that. It does sound like there's probably many, many, many more in my history. There's not. But it may calm the nerves that I have the exposure. They'll ask me whatever the concern is. They'll say, oh, you've worked on project. Well, tell me about that project. And you tell them about that project in the best way possible. Not like, oh, I was just learning. I'm going to leave that part out. Get to the deliverable piece. Think about all these things that create a true effective interview plan. Another way to look at interview preparation is the interview checklist. This is just a quick reminder of, did we get the rest of the things that we had to do? Did we do the research on the job, the company culture as much as possible? Did we go look at their competitors? Did we look at the role of the competitor, which may even be done better and described in a better way than the one here. You think you're right for the role, combined with the competitor's view of the role, combined with this role, you'd have a pretty good handle on that. Don't forget to do the needs analysis before you answer too many questions. Watch your body language. That also means watch the sweaty hands. I know we only have so much control over that. I was at the Javits Center a few years back at Book Expo America, up on a roundtable discussion with 3 of the industry's very, very top publishers and John. I'm like, how did I get on this roundtable? Amazing. And my book had just come out, and I whole series of books in my head. And I'm like, wow, here's 3 people I should pitch my book to right here. And but it was a big event, and I'm up on stage, and there's a few people I know that came to see in the audience, and I've got my computer, my book, and I reach for my coffee, and suddenly I move my hand, and there's this entire ghost print of sweat on the table. I'm like, oh, what if one of them see it? And I'll realize I'm nervous. I get it. Watch the body language. When you're out waiting in the lobby, keep your hands loose. If you need to, on your pant leg, just keep your hand gently on, but never wiping the hands off. Just keep it loose so it's as dry as possible. Shake your hands and move on. Don't leave them with the, oh, it's so wet. Dress like you are a success. Now, I was out doing cardio in running tights, 5-finger shoes, and t-shirt, well, sweatshirt really earlier. If I show up here like that, I don't think anyone's going to take my advice. You have to look the part. So even if in your work life, you don't have to dress this way, you have to look like $1 million when you walk through that door. And when they go, oh my gosh, you didn't have to dress for the interview, it's like, actually, I have a meeting this afternoon. Who do you think that meeting this afternoon is with? Oh, one of your competitors, probably. Yes. So I leave them realizing that if I dazzle you, you better move quickly because I'm off to dance with somebody else. Dress like you are a success and carry yourself that way as well. Gave you a lot to think about. You may forget to listen for clues, which is a huge, huge part of the conversation. Not just I want to sell myself endlessly, but I also want to listen to what they'd like to be sold in addition. Would you like more money? I'll tell you a secret. I'd like more money too. There's nothing wrong with that. The secret to getting more money is don't talk about money. Nobody gets this. My clients go, but when, what? Is there something unclear here? Don't talk about money. In fact, money is never going to cross my lips, ever, until there's an offer on the table. There'll be no indication, no reaction, no whatever until we get there. They're trying to get money answers out of you early to get you over a barrel. I've got this person cornered. They're going to tell me less money now. I haven't even had a chance to tell you why I'm so special. You want to talk about money? Never going to happen. So you really need to sidestep this one. I have a whole separate video on negotiating, but here it's simple as when they say, well, John, what are your compensation needs? What are your desired salary? There's a lot of ways they could ask it. What are you expecting financially? Like I've never thought of it. Gosh, I haven't really even thought of it. I even said it. Really, I haven't really thought of it. To me, and then I segue. This is a little bit of an agree but disagree technique. But to me, it's really about finding the right home for my career and then right back to them like a date, which is why I'm so excited about our conversation today, and especially this particular role. Much more. They may push back 2 or 3 times. You have to get around that. Now, time to get it right. If they make you an offer that you are going to accept without negotiating, you need to accept it now. But how will I know? You're smart enough to know. Give yourself 3 offers right now. Give yourself the lowest average offer you might expect. Then give yourself a second offer of what you might really like, not pie in the sky dream, but what you might really like as the offer. And then write down a third number of the most insulting low offer that you could imagine they might give you. Now you've got 3 offers to react to. You don't need an offer in hand to know what your next step is. You need to react to each of those and go, what's my strategy if I get this? What's my strategy if I get this? What's my strategy? If one of those you're going to accept anyway, without the risk of negotiating, you need to accept it now to keep the momentum moving. Not think overnight, not think over the weekend, unless you're going to negotiate. Check out the negotiating lecture. That'll help you a lot. Next stop opportunity. You are there to evaluate them, but it has to be 100% optimistic, like, wow, this is the best thing since sliced bread, or they may not choose you. Ask for the job at the end. I mean, do I mean like, give me the job? Could be if the conversation was right. But more what I mean is, Jack, Jim, Jill, I'm excited by what we're talking about, this role in particular. What's our next step? That's asking for the job. Even if the next step is to, well, John, we're going to walk you down the hall to meet Sally next. I think that's on the agenda. Yes, it is. I already knew that part, but they needed to go, oh, what's next? They have to remember that I want it. When they have that roundtable discussion of all the interviewers afterward, it's important. The real homework is you preparing the answers to the questions you might be asked. You're the specialist in your field. Make that list of questions you would ask if you were the hiring manager, but add 3 SelfRecruiter questions to it, which will up it just a little bit. Tell me why I should hire you over all others that I see. Not likely to ask it that way, by the way, but that's a gauntlet question. And elements of that answer have to be filtered into my other answers, absolutely, or I won't be effective. Tell me why my work life will get easier or better if I hire you. Again, not likely to ask you that way. But if I communicate that in some of my answers, oh, I'm much more likely to get selected for this role. Why is it going to be the best business decision I make today if I choose to hire you? Now, really, probably not likely to get this question, but you better have those answers filtered into the rest. Practice makes perfect. So work with a coach or work with a friend. Gosh, I know a good coach if you need some role play on interviews and really prepare for everything. Follow up. Your thank you notes are incredibly important. You want to be a little different than everybody else. It is shocking how few people send thank you notes. So how does this all work? Afterward, you don't go home. You go to the nearest park bench, you go to the nearest coffee shop, whatever is the right thing for you, and you do a deep dive debrief. This is where all the information gets dumped down into that notebook. Every tangential thought, even though, why am I thinking that? I don't know, but capture it now. There's a reason you're thinking of it now. If you don't capture it, you can't think about it and contemplate it later. So this is where we capture all that. And that's the good, the bad, the ugly. Where did I succeed? Where did I stick my foot in my mouth? Where did I miss an opportunity to say something I could have done? What did I avoid talking about? And then we're going to ask one final question, which is very demoralizing, but you're here to help yourself. Therefore, you have to take the tough medicine too. And that is, if they don't move forward with me or don't hire me, what's the reason going to be? This is not one that you give contemplation to. This is like the funny bone reaction that you hit it and it just goes. Your gut feeling is what you're training here. Now, at first, I might go, area A. Area A. I didn't talk about area A. And suddenly I realized what it was. This is how you discover after the fact what you missed. Once you do it 2 or 3 times, you'll realize your gut instinct is right every single time once you train it just a little bit. So how you overcome that is after you thank them for the interview. By the way, please, 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 never again thank someone for their time. You are subservient and beneath them if you thank them for your time. You must be equal to every single person that you meet in the hiring process. I don't care if that is an administrative person. I don't care if that is the CEO of the company or the chairman of the board. I am equal, equal, equal. I will never speak up to someone and certainly never speak down to someone. And so after I thank them for the great discussion, the insights, everything but time, because your time is valuable as well, and you are helping them in their hiring process, even if they don't hire you, by giving them perspective of interviewing a qualified candidate so they can pick whatever's right for them. You're giving them a great contribution. And once you understand that, you thank them for the great opportunity, the discussion, the insights they shared. And then you segue over to what you need to overcome. Oh, by the way, we didn't get a lot of opportunity to talk about Area A, where I've worked on projects such as This Is That. If you'd like to talk about that, reach out to me anytime. Here's my cell phone. This saved one of my promotions early in my career before I was ever a recruiter, when I failed to talk about one of the most obvious things. It was a retail general manager interview. I was already running the #1 department out of 121 departments in the country. And my store's general manager went up to be country manager of Canada. My store was #4 in the country, really big monster. And suddenly John goes, well, I'm already #1 department. I should rise to the throne. And I went in, I did a pretty good interview because I'm pretty conversant. And after the fact, I call my spy in headquarters. Always good to have a spy in headquarters. And I think we're pretty well. No, I don't think so. They're in there arguing about you right now, something about your vision for the store. Like, oh, How do I not communicate my vision for the store? Well, I fell in a trap long before being a recruiter of I could see my direct competitors at the much smaller stores, and it will sound terrible, but I had a lot of different background before I was ever in that role. I'm the 800-pound gorilla in the space. There are no real competitors here, and that's a very dangerous place to be, because then you forget the obvious things. So I overcame it exactly like this, going, we didn't get a lot of opportunity to talk about my vision for the store. If you'd like to talk about that, click send. Bullet pointing out my vision very quickly. Oh my gosh, they're going to call me any second. Never called me. Got the promotion. And this is while the two managers are in there arguing about me. One wanted me, one didn't. And this little technique solved it. So these small things do all come together, line up the dominoes and help. Tell them you're excited. Tell them you're the next one. Everything comes down to chemistry. So don't forget that part of it, and think about how you're going to build that chemistry with everybody. That means, finding out what interests them, what they've worked on, what their passions are, making it about them as much as it is about you, or how you can help them. Let's transition into the end piece for today, which is to really teach you how to video interview a little bit more effectively. I'm going to get a little sip. Drinking a little slow today. That's my second one, and it's only 10:42. So don't want to be too over caffeinated. So interviews can happen any which way, but I have to be prepared. If you're not prepared, don't answer the phone. If that's not pre-scheduled, ABC company, don't answer the phone. They'll take your call right back. Listen to the voicemail, glean what you can, go in wiser, and be ready. Our job, though, is going to mostly be determined, at least through some sort of a video interviewing, because of COVID-19 and everything else. Some people working remotely, some people not working remotely. So it's still chemistry and confidence, even though it's a little bit harder to do it this way. Now, I'm going to show you a few pictures I just pulled off the internet. Someone was collecting Zoom shots, and I just want to show you some Zoom shots. Chemistry and confidence win the day in an interview. Do we see it? Do we see it? I don't see it. I don't even know if this person knows it's a job interview. They're not interviewing for a sports team. This is really a deal killer. Chemistry and confidence win the day. Do we see it? Do we see it? I don't even see you. All I see is the bright screen behind you. In fact, I see you so lowered, like I'm so down here like a little mole. That doesn't work as well. You have to own your space. Now, if you haven't figured it out already, yes, I'm standing. I'm not sitting. I'm standing. I can hop up and down. I'm standing. In fact, I'm standing in about a 1 square foot space, and I allow my body to move around. It's all possible, but you also have to learn to fall in love with the camera lens, not your screen, the camera lens, not your screen, the camera lens. I don't need to see that person. I need to look at the camera lens, so that every time they look at me, wow, I'm looking right at them. So I want you to think about, let's look at this next one here, and I'll show you what I think you should do. Don't need to see up your nose. I don't need to see your ceiling. I know this person thinks they're confident because they're commanding, but I don't see it. I don't feel it. I just feel a style that I really don't want to interact with. Chemistry and confidence win the day. I see the confidence. I see the chemistry. No, I don't think so. But that confidence vote, I'm going to take right back, because the boom mic doesn't work. But I like listening that way. I get it. This is not about you being comfortable. This is about you being effective. You have to be effective in your process. I have a whole other thing that I didn't realize Zoom did, or not Zoom, StreamYard. It just went to a different total screen on a click. Sorry about that. Now, as I get back here, no confidence because of the boom mic. We have to move that out of the way. This one, I really like the framing. I like the square. I like the framing. I give the chemistry and confidence, even with the stern look. But don't allow yourself to be upstaged. I can't endlessly look at this photo going, what is this picture on the wall behind your head? This doesn't really help you. So you need to think about, changing some of this stuff up a little bit. This one has the same problem with the curved wall. I like the curved wall, but look at the reflection problem. And honestly, it just gives me a million more things to look at besides yourself, which isn't really going to help you. And that really holds you back a lot. Chemistry and confidence win the day. Do we see it here? Do we see it? Do we see it? Yeah, I do see it. I do see it. But you know what? I don't think the Princess Leia headphones, if we're old enough to understand what Princess Leia is, that doesn't really do it as well. This one's a big winner, by the way, even though that this photo in the background is obviously a staged shot or just a picture off the internet type thing. But what it does do is it creates depth. It adds focus to the individual. Don't like these medium headphones either. We need to get rid of those things or move to little buds or something like that. But this is still a primarily pretty good one. Here is the winner from this collection. Doesn't mean that it doesn't still have problems, but I like the balance. I like the little edges over here. I like the little bit of picture, which is there, but not so distracting. I still look at you. Problems, I wish it was a little better lit on the one side. I wish I wasn't looking a little bit up the nose, those kinds of things. But all things being equal, which they never are, this one is the winner. So let's show you how I create this setup that you're looking at right now. And I've really done it two different ways over the last few pandemic years. One was in the main bedroom, and now I'm in the front where I painted a whole green screen studio here. Now, this is actually my other half's setup for during the pandemic time when they were working from home, facing a bright window, which I don't really like to do. My eyes are very sensitive to light. Somehow, you'll see in a moment, I'm surrounded by 3 giant light boxes. When I step in front of the camera, my brain goes, oh, I love the light. I don't get it. But I can't stare at the window all day because my eyes would freak out. But we do need great light to look good, which is why I have 3 giant light boxes here. You may need a light ring. Those light rings, understand, usually have buttons to control the color temperature. Maybe you need a yellower one or a bluer one or a pinker one or a brighter, dimmer. All of that is possible. You have to be lit properly to look right. If you'd like to sound great, you also need to have a proper microphone. Now, today's laptops have pretty good mics, but they don't compare to a condenser mic. This is a fairly inexpensive condenser mic. This is the one I'm speaking on right now, Blue Snowball. Fairly inexpensive condenser mic to help you sound better, to give you more presence. Yes, I am speaking on top of boxes on top of my ironing board. Now, this was in the main bedroom. I'm not in the main bedroom. I'm out in the front right now in a little alcove painted all green screen. But originally I had the ironing board set up directly next to the bed. So I had like one foot of space to work in. I actually have these same exact boxes I've used the entire time. I just keep them because they're nice and sturdy, all standing, because the camera has to be at my eye height. So I have to go, where are my eyes? And that is where the camera has to be. And everything has to go up, 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 up. So I'm looking confidently at them. Correct light, correct everything else. Here's a reverse look where in the bedroom I had a green screen on the wall. Now I have an entire alcove painted as a green screen around me near the front entrance, and I've moved up there. But you realize 3 big light boxes, everything's set up. Yep, I even have a stool, because you're probably wondering where are the controller and the coffee going, all right there. If I had a little note or here we go. This little sound controller things, all that kind of stuff sits all in this space here. So I want you to think about proper preparation can have a very, very different outcome. And that's what you want for your next interview. Besides the technical setup for your interviewing correctly, get away from this idea that you need to look at the screen. I don't need to see that person. What I need to see is the camera lens. And then I need to put maybe a little sticky notes around the camera if I need to remind myself of something. And that's how things are going to be really, really great and move forward. I want you to tune in tomorrow. It's a very special end for this week's session before the end of the year, where we'll talk about how you use social media marketing in your job search and managing your career. This is to elevate and lift your brand and to open those doors to really discussions that you wouldn't have gotten into before. And it's a game changer. Thank you guys for joining in. Please do like, comment, share, message. It helps so much. I don't know if you're watching on YouTube or over on Facebook or maybe on my LinkedIn profile, but I sure do appreciate it. If you need help fixing your resume, fixing your LinkedIn profile, and really selling your brand in a very different way, check out my SelfRecruiter website, and everything is under the services tab. If you need to speak before you know which package is right for you, send me a quick email at john@selfrecruiter.com, and I'll look forward to a discussion. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Take care.